Thank you, Alistair. Thank you for the invitation in this panel. ElvalHalcor represents a national champion, not only for the metal manufacturing, but also for the heavy industry of this country. As far as you know, the heavy industry contributes to more than 9.5% of the GDP. This year, we expect that this contribution to the GDP of this country is going to be around 11.5%. 5% of those exports of the industrial products are taking place from our company. Our company is manufacturing aluminum and copper products, so it is in the semi-finished industry for metals, and we're proud that most of our products, like copper tubes, where we are a European champion, because we're #1 in this market, representing a double-digit market share, and our aluminum products are within the heat exchangers, for example, that most probably we have here for the air conditioning and the heating and ventilation of this hall, or the car makers of Germany, the most well-known automotive industry in Europe. So not only a national champion, but also a heavy industry which represents a champion in Europe in the metal processing. Now, since I come from the heavy industry, I believe that I should highlight a little bit the importance of heavy industry for the Greek economy, the challenges we face, including ESG, as you said, Alistair, before, and of course, the circumstances under which we have to operate. Now, I have to say that the manufacturing is a big question also for EU. It's not only a Greek case. Most of you maybe know that since 2019, the European Council asked the European Commission to formulate an industrial strategy. At the beginning of 2020, the European Commission proposed a very coherent industrial strategy for Europe with some main pillars. In the center of this strategy is the strategic autonomy of Europe, something which was reconfirmed later at 2020, after the pandemic and the implications of the pandemic in the supply chain of industrial products in Europe. So again, the strategic autonomy is at the epicenter of this industrial strategy. However, EU is seeking more versatile, more green, more digital, and more autonomous heavy industry. The scope is very clear. The 15%, which was traditionally the contribution of the heavy industry in Europe, has to become 20%. In Greece, we hope and we believe, and we have some instruments in order to achieve it, the 11.5%, which is currently more or less the contribution, can become 15% within the next few years. I would say sooner than 2030, which was the target which was set by the Prime Minister 2 years ago. Now, luckily, we have right now a new industrial policy, which is under formulation by the Ministry of Development and Investments. We have to acknowledge that we deal with a pro-investment and pro-business government, something which is quite unusual in Greece, I have to say, in the last few decades, and especially the head, the minister, and the alternate minister of investments and development. Our people are coming from the private sector, so people eager to listen and to solve problems. What are the challenges, in a few words, that we face right now? Because we have to acknowledge that the Greek manufacturing has been proven very resilient in the last 10 years. Although we have to deal with a huge deficit of investments. A lot of scholars are always commentating that the gap right now in the investment is about 100 billion euros. I think this is a fallacy, because if we want to come closer to the European average, and if we want to become indeed more green and more digital, then we need to spend more than 150 billion euros for new investments. We're happy to see that the investments are going up, according to the latest statistics. Last year, it was around, especially foreign direct investments in Greece, which is very important. Although traditionally, FDIs in Greece was at the area of 6 to 7% of the GDP. This year was around 20%. So we talk about 5.7 billion euros of foreign direct investments in Greece. Unfortunately, we have less investments for greenfield projects. This year we have 20%, last year, excuse me, we had 20% less spent for greenfield projects like the year before. So that means that most of the money which are coming from abroad to be spent here in Greece have to do with merger and acquisition. This is important and this is necessary for a country like Greece, even after 10 devastating for the economy years. But we have to find a more nice balance between greenfield projects and merger and acquisitions. So according to the new industrial strategy, we have also to become more green, more digital. We have, and this is something that we're asking for, to lower our dependency from imports. We have to secure that we are going to have a more harmonic industrial symbiosis by having more organized industrial areas. And we have projects right now that we hope that can be financed also by the RRF. And at the end of the day, we have to secure that we have the manpower in order to operate our plants. I heard the other speakers before commentating about the role of the human factor in their businesses. Well, it is true, as Minister Georgiadis mentioned before, that the brain regain was important for Greece, and especially for some industries, like the heavy industry, because indeed we have the chance to import back a lot of people who left, especially engineers, during the bad years for the Greek economy. And I have to tell you that they returned back for very well-paid jobs with a lot of potential. On the other hand, we seek right now to secure that we have the non-skilled people that we need in order to operate the factories here in Greece, and there is a problem here. We know that unemployment rate is still very high for Greece, but we find a difficulty in finding the right people in order to operate our factories. I think we have also a little bit to pay attention to our regulatory framework to become more attractive in the heavy industry. We need a little bit to be more careful in the labor legislation for making overtime, for example, more attractive for the people so that they can work and so that we can secure the operation of our plants.